Hi, everybody. So in this video, we're going to take a look at Module 7, the extra practice about supply and equilibrium. So the first couple of questions, actually, these are not supply, it's just supply and demand equilibrium. I'm a little brain fart there. The first couple of questions say, there's a scenario and it says, which one of these is going to be affected, supply or demand? And then how will the price and quantity be affected for the underlying good? So for the first, check your understanding. Number one, as the price of gasoline fell in the United States in the 90s, more people bought large cars. So again, I wish that, and this is the first edition of the book, I wish that they were a little more clear about which good we're talking about, gasoline or cars. So if we talk about cars, right, then it makes a little more sense in this question. So if people are buying more large cars, right, we would expect that essentially the demand is going to increase because there's more tastes and preferences for the large cars. So we can even say demand increases for large cars. And so therefore, what happens to the price and the quantity of those? Price goes up and quantity goes up. For B, it says as technological innovation lowered the cost of recycling paper, fresh paper made from recycled stock is used more frequently. So this one is trying to key you in that it's the technological innovation. It's making it cheaper to produce this. So we would say the supply increases of recycled paper, and therefore the price falls and the quantity rises. And then it kind of actually, it actually tells you that fresh paper made from recycled stock is used more frequently. That's the Q increasing. For C, when a local cable company offers cheaper pay-per-view films, movies have more unfilled seats. So this is substitute goods, and it's probably easiest if we think about like the movie theater seats, the movie tickets as the good in question. And so we'd say that demand decreases for movie tickets, and we would say it decreases because of the substitute good, right? The pay-per-view movies are cheaper. And so if the demand is falling for movie tickets, then the price will fall and the quantity will fall. Number two says, periodically, a computer chip maker like Intel will introduce a new chip that's way faster, and in response, demand for computers using the old chip will fall because people are like, why would I want to buy this crap old one when the new one's coming out? At the very same time, computer makers will try to get rid of as many of those old chips as possible, so they ramp up production to get rid of them. So then it says draw two diagrams of the market for them containing the earlier chip, for the computers with the earlier chip. One diagram where the equilibrium quantity goes down in response, and one where the equilibrium quantity goes up. And I really like this question because it shows you the idea that with a double shift like this, that you can't figure out one of the two variables. You can't figure out price, or in this case, you can't figure out quantity. So A and B. We'll do two side-by-side pictures. And this one is a little tough if you haven't thought through exactly what you're going to draw first. So I would say first just draw supply and demand, right? And for this one, the easiest way to do it is actually to keep like one of the shifts the same size and then make the other one bigger or smaller. So for the A one, it's saying like make it where the quantity goes down. Okay, so we know that the demand is going to fall in both of these pictures. So let's say that the demand falls a whole lot. Okay, and the supply goes up just a little bit. Maybe they didn't have very many on the shelf. So this is the computer makers, right? And it's a little hard to even see how, because I made that demand shift so big. The computer makers didn't have that many of the old chips, so they ramped up production, but not like they weren't a huge amount. But the amount of demand for these old chips is just fell off. It's totally like fallen off a cliff. So we used to be here, right, where D and S are, and now we're going to be where S1 and D1 are. So S1, and we go all the way over to here, and you can see that the quantity decreased. Right? The quantity went down. Now, definitely, the price also went down between those 2 points. But let's take a look on this side. Let's reverse the size of those shifts. Let's say that maybe And we'll start here, right? Maybe the demand for these old computers doesn't fall all that much, right? So it goes down, but not a huge amount, right? And we'll say, let's say that the computer makers had a ton of these old chips sitting around, and so they ramp up production a whole lot, right? They ramp up production a whole lot. So we used to be here, now we're going to be at S1 and D1, so S1 and D1 are now here. And so what happens to quantity? Well, quantity went up in that case. But what definitely happened to price? Well, price definitely went down. So here in these two pictures, we can see that when you have a double shift, either quantity or price, and in this case quantity, you're not going to be able to tell, but you will be able to tell one of the two. Okay? Now let's take a look at the multiple choice. Which of the following describes what will happen in the market for tomatoes if a salmonella outbreak is attributed to tainted tomatoes? Ooh, that's not good. That is bad news bears. We would expect, right, that demand will decrease, that's for sure. So demand will decrease, and if the demand decreases for them, then the price will decrease. So I'm looking for that answer in here, and it is D. Okay, number 2 says, which of the following will lead to an increase in the price of X? Ooh, this one's going to be tough because we're going to have to think about like what happens in each of these scenarios. So for A, an increase in consumer incomes if product X is inferior. So if income goes up and the good's inferior, then the demand's going to fall. So I'm actually just going to write like A, B, C, D, and E. So demand will go down, and therefore the price will go down. So does that fulfill it? No. So that one's not the right answer. B, an increase in the price of machinery used to produce product X. So that's the supply, and it's going to reduce the supply. It's going to make the supply smaller, and so that would make the price go up. So that actually is a correct answer. Let's go through the other ones just to be sure. Technological advance in the production of good X. So that's kind of the reverse of B. It's going to actually make the supply go up, which will lower the price. So that one's not right. D, a decrease in the price of good Y, which is a substitute for X. So that would mean that the demand for X will fall, and that would cause the price to fall. So that one's not right. E, an expectation that the price is going to go down. Again, that causes the demand to decrease because people would prefer to buy it when the price is lower a month from now or whenever. And so the price will fall today. Okay, so the correct answer for this one, in case you haven't seen it, is B. Number 3, the equilibrium price will rise, but equilibrium quantity may increase, decrease, or stay the same if, okay, and so this one is helpful to think about, like from the perspective of the double shifts. You could just draw a little quick graph. What would cause the price to go up, but not to know what happens with quantity? Well, you can actually look here and see that price will go down if they move in opposite directions, right? So supply increased here, demand decreased. Supply increased, demand decreased. So if we reverse that process and we said, price, quantity, demand, supply, let's say that supply decreased, okay, decreased supply, and we increased demand. So we went from this point to this point, okay? It will cause the price to go up. So which one of those answers corresponds to something like that? Well, a decrease in supply and a increase in demand. So demand increases, supply decreases, that's A. Number 4 says an increase in the number of buyers and a technological advance. So that's a demand increase and a supply increase will cause demand to increase, supply to increase. Oh, well, that one's easy. It's A. Woohoo! I'm getting off easy on these. Number 5, which of the following is certainly true if demand and supply increase at the same time? So if we did this, what's certainly true? The quantity in that case will increase. And again, if you wanted to, you can test it out and draw a little picture, but I'll kind of save you the time and say if you want to try that, you can draw it. Check out this question number 1. I like it. It's something like it will appear on the exam this unit. Draw a correctly labeled graph showing the market for cups of coffee in equilibrium. Okay, so let me scoot my stuff just a little bit. cups of coffee in equilibrium. And then show the effect of a decrease in the price of beans on equilibrium price and quantity in the market for cups of coffee. So a decrease in the price of beans would increase the supply because it makes it cheaper to produce. And so we'd say we go from P star to P1, so the price goes down, and we go from Q star to Q1, the quantity goes up. All right, hopefully that helped you. And oh, I lost my mouse. Uh-oh, oh no, oh no. See you next time.